Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Year of the Dead. Now this month we are reviewing Land of the Dead, which is the fourth movie that Romero put out.
Start a new trilogy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So with Day of the Dead, I think the plan was for it to just be done after that. That was the end of the series.
You know how people get though. They're like, you know what? We want another one.
And also, I don't think Romero ever really had a huge hit outside of the Dead movies. Now, he had big movies, but I think after Day of the Dead, by the time we get to the 2000s, I think he was kind of... And yeah, that would have been between Night and Dawn. But, like, I really don't think he ever had as big of movies as he did in the series. And especially by the time the 2000s hit, I think he was kind of probably, like, needing to go back to the well that got him big.
And I will say, like, just off the road, I do enjoy this one. This is... And I know I've said this, like, the first three, I enjoyed all of them. They're good movies, and they're different movies. It's not like he rehashed, and that's why I liked he didn't rehash, you know, from Night of the Living Dead to Dawn of the Dead. Very different. Dawn of the Dead and Night of the Dead to Day of the Dead. Different. And then the same thing with Land of the Dead. It's different, and that's kind of what I like about. I gotta give him, because, like, how many seasons of The Walking Dead do we have right now? And how many times is it the same formula over and over again?
That's a good point.
And I love The Walking Dead, and it's no shade to The Walking Dead, but
there's a lot of repetition.
Yeah, in a lot of movies, like when people just make the same movie over and over again, it's going to be the same movie, and that's kind of what I like about. He takes it and he's like, I'm going to do a spin to it.
Because it's more than a zombie movie. I feel like was Romero. He wants to, like, not push an agenda, but, like, push his opinion on something.
Yeah.
And this one was very, like, classist. So, like, the haves and the have-nots. Dogs are hitting the camera.
Guys, why the...
Some dogs are fighting.
Pick it up right back here. Dogs were being problematic.
Yes. So this one was very, like, centered on the different classes. So it was about the haves and have-nots, the upper class versus the lower class, and how... the lower class...
In a zombie movie.
In a zombie movie. The lower class is constantly being...
What would class warfare be like in a zombie movie?
Basically.
I think that's how he does something. He's like, this is a concept in a zombie movie. Let's do this concept in a zombie movie.
And so it's something that wasn't talked about in the other one. So I think it totally works.
Actually, I think there's more of a political commentary. And not that he was pushing an agenda. I don't think he was. But it was definitely pushing... There was a... commentary in it, and it comes off, and I mean it. I'm sure you could write, you know, use this movie and write a term paper on how it referenced, you know, different class struggles and stuff like that. Not that we're preaching that or anything right now, but he does and I think I forget which movie we brought up that there was, like, social or political commentary in the... I don't remember if it was Day or if it was
I
Dawn.
can't be... I'm not too sure either, because I know Night of the Living Dead kind of had...
Yeah, I think it might have been Night of the Living Dead.
Racial stuff, but I feel like tackled some of the, like, the haves
I think
and the have-nots.
I think that's what we were talking about. But it's in this too, but, like, again, it's like...
It's different. It really does take it in a different...
It's not rehashing. Like, and, like, I don't want to repeat myself, but, like, Walking Dead... And even though they do change up stuff in it, Walking Dead I love, because I love zombie movies, it's great. But, like, how many times is it like, oh, there's zombies. Oh, they build a place to live. This is a good place to live. Oh, there's people. We gotta deal with the people. Oh no, they destroyed our place to live.
Go find a new one.
So we killed the people, but some of their people joined us, and now we got more people. And then it's. They may throw stuff in there, and not every season's like that. But it happens so much, you could kind of predict it. And that's why I like how he kind of changed it.
And looking forward, and we're not going to discuss them now, but his last two movies in his series, he does tackle it in different ways. It's like he always had something new he wanted to share. Whether or not those were good movies, we'll get to. But I will say it was Land, before we go into the plot more. There's parts of this I like more than Day of the Dead. Now, I still think Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead are kind of in different league.
There was more going on in this movie, and I kind of... And not that it was bad in Day of the Dead. It worked for what it was.
You can really tell with Day of the Dead that he had a big ambition for what he wanted to accomplish, and the budget wasn't there. With land and with the advent of like having CGI.
Because we were actually discussing this when we were watching today. Was like that. I forget what year would have been the newest Resident Evil movie that was in theaters as of this. That like if their budget was small, but they had this big what they wanted it to be, and you could tell it suffered. And if they just took it like, hey, be in the mansion.
Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City.
Is that what? Yeah, okay. I've only seen that one once, and there was actually the like shot for shot in that of that like one part that is like the one thing from the first Resident Evil is where that zombie stands up and like turns. It was perfect, but then they try to do too much.
Their ambitions were so high.
And I will say Day of the Dead, though, he did it with what he had. He did a good zombie movie.
Because with the intro to Day of the Dead, you can see, I think he wanted to do something more big scale.
Yeah.
But then they had to scale it all the way back to just
a bunker. And, you know, a bunker, you could, if you set your whole movie in a bunker, it limits what you have to, you know, get. You don't have to get all these different sets, which is interesting. You could tell with this, a little more of the budget was there.
Yes, and by this point in time, 2005, zombies were coming into the mainstream. So I think it was easier for him to finance it. Day. Oh man, it's an 80s. That's all I know.
Yeah, because then
I can't remember all the time in my head.
I mean, you had zombie movies, I'm sure, but like you didn't really have one.
It was around this time of Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah, like because I think this came out before the Dawn of the Dead remake, right?
I believe both of them were 05.
Oh, so like around I knew it was close.
But it was before Shaun of the Dead. I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Shaun of the Dead was before this.
I would say Resident Evil was the first one to come
Resident
back.
Evil coming back
obviously,
28 days later.
Resident Evil's like games. Were obviously, I think, were the ones that bring zombies into the mainstream again. And I think the movies were a big one bringing it into mainstream. 28 Days Later. I don't remember what year that came out.
And
great movie.
Zombies hadn't reached their like apex of popularity within this new millennium, but it was definitely enough that studios would be willing to shell out more money.
When this was made, it was definitely like after Resident Evil started, the games and the movies. And when somebody's like, "Oh, what's a good zombie movie?" They're gonna say Resident Evil. Oh, what's a good zombie game? Resident Evil.
Yeah.
So I will say, and I brought this up as we were watching it because I haven't watched this in a few years. It felt like those first two Resident Evil movies. The atmosphere of it, the over-the-top kind of ridiculousness.
Yeah, it's a little
which isn't a bad thing.
A little cheesy,
and it isn't a bad thing. But it was. No. I found it interesting because I'm watching. I'm like, you could take this scene and put it in the Resident Evil movies, and it would fit.
Yeah.
It was weird. Because I definitely watched Resident Evil before I watched this movie. Oh, yeah, I never actually felt that. I don't know if like a certain amount of time has to go by before you can like look back at some of these generations of movies type of thing.
And you can tell there's a general vibe.
Yeah.
So really quick to run down the Land of the Dead. I think it has an interesting plot. I don't know if it was executed the best, but it's about there's this place called Fiddler's Green, and it is this giant building where all the wealthy people live, and surrounding it is basically a lot of slums. But the people who run Fiddler's Green also saved this city and carved it out from the zombies. But the people living in poverty aren't living well, and they're pretty much their only way to make money is to go on runs and to go outside the walls and do stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely exploitative in how
do stuff for the Dennis Hopper is the main. He's kind of
like, we get the good part, but we still kind of protect you, so you do stuff for us. Yeah, which is. You could pick that political and social commentary apart like crazy. So
it's about these two people. I want to say they're supposed to be friends, but I don't think they're ever chummy in the movie.
No,
I forget one of the actors' name, but the other is John Leguizamo or Zamo.
I love that actor.
Yeah, he's amazing.
I don't see him in a ton of stuff anymore, and every time I see him, he was definitely not that he still doesn't get movies, but early 2000s.
In the 90s.
Yeah, 90s, early 2000s, into the 2010s
Don't
a
forget,
bit.
He played Luigi in the Super Mario Bros. Movie.
Which was perfect. So when I asked you earlier, I'm pretty sure he's Italian, but I couldn't tell if he's Hispanic. I could be wrong, but I think he's Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would say so. So anyways, one of them thinks that he's finally done enough to get into the good graces to get a part of this tower. But then he just gets screwed over by the evil villain. So he takes their over-the-top killing machine, giant bus car, I don't know. It's called Dead Reckoning. To me, it's the most over-top part of the movie. But anyways, he takes this and pretty much holds the city hostage for money. And then the other guy teams up with his other friends to just take them out. But they both also don't like Dennis Hopper. And so they don't want him to succeed, but also the entire time this is going on, the zombies, led by someone named Big Daddy.
He looks like a Big Daddy.
He looks like a Big Daddy. He is leading zombies to remember their past to rise up against humans.
So there's a whole nother social commentary into it.
Honestly, and we didn't even touch upon that, and it's
now that you bring it up, you're like...
And it's like both of those are just two different parts of the movie.
It's like haves, the have-nots, and then like the really have-nots.
The slaves, basically.
Yeah, like who don't like either of them. I mean,
but also it's weird though because they don't really the storylines don't interact too much. Like obviously the zombies attack the city. They do things that are smarter than an average zombie to get into the city, and then they just kind of leave.
You kind of see with Big Daddy. And this is stuff touched on in Day of the Dead where, like, zombies could start learning and retaining. You see Big Daddy kind of, like, he picks up a gun at one point. He sees all the zombies when there's fireworks, just stare at the fireworks. And as the fireworks are going off, they're driving by shooting the zombies. He's, like, pushing the zombies out of the way, trying to get them to, like, stop looking at... I'm sure there's a social commentary where they're just stuck with... Like, they're... You could probably overanalyze this.
This one actually be more than
the more I'm talking about it, I'm like, oh geez. But he's like trying to wake. Oh God, it's just a social wake them up, and he kind of starts getting them to start, working together. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say
that's the thing. They work together.
I don't want to say using tools because all throughout you've seen them kind of pick stuff up.
They always have stuff in their hands.
Yeah, and that's a running gag. And
they always have the dumbest things.
I can't remember if Diary and Survival.
I don't know. If they continue.
I don't think they continue that because it's kind of ridiculous. But I think that's his.
Like, you see like a whole band.
I think that's Romero making a joke, and I'm here for it.
There's a zombie mowing his lawn, or anyway, he wasn't even mowing a lawn, but he was on his lawnmower just going in circles. And this has been a while after Night of the Living Dead, so you're assuming they have been doing this for like a decade or 5 years or at least a long period of time. It's funny.
I mean, he doesn't take himself too seriously at times in these movies too, and that's
you shouldn't take these movies too seriously. But I do think it is weird that this whole zombie plot line with them like learning is happening at the same time that this whole other really intricate plot line is going on. So
it's almost like they could have been two separate movies.
Honestly, like what if there was a movie that just followed Big Daddy, almost had no dialogue, and it was just them. That
would be an artsy-fartsy.
It would have been very artsy, but it would have been interesting.
I'd be here for it.
So what I alluded to before is there is definitely a bigger budget with this movie, or they were able to do so much more practical effects. CGI also allowed them to do some stuff. It doesn't hold up well, some of the CGI effects.
When they use CGI, it looks bad, but look at like Resident Evil CGI, it's about that level. They use practical way more, so it doesn't harm the
gnarly kills in this.
Because like at this time, a lot of movies doing this would have used CGI for a lot, and
he did what he could,
and the CGI would have been bad. So,
and I will say, when they did use CGI, it was stuff that they could not do practically.
Yeah.
But it was phenomenal. Some of the kills and the gore was insane. Now we did watch the unrated version,
sure that
definitely added to it. But it's like it was some gnarly stuff. So was there a particular kill, either someone killing a zombie or a zombie killing someone?
It wasn't a kill, but there's a few that stay with me that were one was a kill. But when there's like zombie eating somebody and he just shoves his whole and you don't even see him shove it in. The mouth is here and he's just like pulling all the guts out of the mouth. That's
gonna be the screenshot right there for the thumbnail.
And I'm just like bro just like fisted the dude's mouth.
I can't. Was that one?
It's just like it caught me off guard, and I loved it. And then there was a elevator kill that I thought was interesting.
Oh, yeah,
the guy, and the zombie flips the zombie around and kind of lets the elevator take off. Pretty cool. But
cool.
There's a ton of gore, and like we said, unrated. So that's why.
When the zombies siege upon the city, it's like just tearing apart after tearing apart.
They're here for the blood orgy.
And my favorite one, it was just a split-second thing, but there was a time where a zombie grabs someone's face, and maybe they just did it so fast and it was CGI and I didn't notice, or it was somehow done practically, I don't know how they would, but you see the person's head get grabbed, and then they like put their hand in their mouth, not quite like that, but like just their fingers, and then pull up, and then like their skin comes off with it.
That was a good one.
And it was just like a split second, but it was like little things like that, and even like just the set dressing on this movie was absolutely great, because they were just walking through like after like a place that got attacked by zombies. There's explosions everywhere, cars are on fire, there's just carnage everywhere, and it's just, you can see that the production value was,
you could tell there was a lot more money behind it, which is
won't happen again, as you will see from the next two installments.
And I will say with like Diary, I might have seen it twice. I don't think I've seen it a third time. Could have, but Survival, I think that was a one and done for me. So we'll
watch Survival again.
When we get there, it'll be like, I think he's only watched it this one time. No. But
we also want to apologize. We have two dogs right now that you might be able to hear. They're not getting along. All right, now Poe's just biting his undercarriage. All right, anyways.
This is devolved.
Yeah.
You got like mouth fisting and undercarriage biting.
So anyways, good movie. Some parts of it I like more than Day of the Dead, and
I actually might put it above Day of the Dead.
I think the gore was great. The stuff the social commentary was good, yeah.
And I use plural because there were definitely more.
It's definitely more cheesy than Day of the Dead.
It kind of felt more like a Dawn of the Dead, which I'm here for.
I might put it over Day of the Dead. I know that might be a controversial pick, but I do think Romero coming back into the zombie market was Land of the Dead. I think he stuck.
I will say the first 4 movies of this were pretty solid, and even all like 6 are different enough that I like it.
Yeah.
I think Survival felt like generic to
it. We'll get to that though.
We'll get to that, but like even like Diary and stuff, everything felt he did something different, and I'm all here for doing stuff. Like don't rehash the same thing. Like if he just rehashed Night of the Living Dead for 4 movies, it would be like, I don't think anybody would talk about it, and I don't think he would get past that. But the fact that he changes it up so much, and he's such a beloved horror icon, R.I.P.
Romero, great director. This movie definitely stuck the landing. I'm glad he went back to it. And
I feel like this is going to be the last one that all I do is praise, I will say.
Possibly.
I would have to watch Diary again, because like I said, I've only seen it a few times. But this is I still think this is a high mark for him. Yep,
this is definitely. I'm glad he came back and did this, because I feel like it was finally the movie was the budget.
Even like say Diary and Survival are god awful. I'd rather have the trilogy and have Land of the Dead than not have the trilogy.
Yeah,
if that's fair.
Too.
I think this makes up for those next 2 could be complete garbage.
Which they are. I want to rewatch them.
I gotta critically watch it.
I know he's just trying to eat her. There's a lot happening. So anyways, we will talk to you guys next month when we review Diary of the Dead.
Oh. Send more paramedics.